Good day. Today is 29th of May 2022, and we all know our motherland, Sri Lanka, is facing a severe problem. Not only one problem, every front, the corruption that prevailed, we see at 75% level. So basically, when something is 100%, only 25% is used to benefit the poor or the people of the country, and the remaining 75% is taken out by politicians or their friends. And I don't have to tell you with whom that it was rampant. So, today I thought of talking about the history of Sri Lanka so that we can see how we come out of the mess. And many think that the history of Sri Lanka is only 2,500 years. It is a myth, and I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you what happened 20, 30, 40,000 years ago. I'm Professor M.T.R. Jayasinghe, or Thishan Jayasinghe, well-known structural engineer. I have checked and certified the tallest building in Sri Lanka, 68-story Altea building. It's a twin tower building, but one of the specialties, one of the towers is leaning against the other up to the 43rd floor, and then both goes up to around 68 stories independently. And it has been, it is a masterpiece by the Israeli-born architect who practices in USA, Moshe, and has been designed by one of the best structural engineers I have ever come across. There is a pre-deck error from Yugoslavia. Now that country is no longer there. There are Croatia and other countries, but I don't know which part of Yugoslavia he came. So, but anyway, we say he's from old Yugoslavia. I think he's a little older than me. I was born in 1963. I think he's a little older than me. In Sri Lanka, you can't construct buildings unless it has been certified by a local engineer. So, a consortium of engineers formed by Mr. Engineer Deepal and Engineer Bimal Fernando came to me. Bimal is my batchmate. He asked me, Thishan, can you help us by modeling this building, and then rest of the things we can do. So I said, yes, it's no problem. Any building I can model, number of stories, no problem. I'll do that for you. So I created a very complicated building of the mathematical model of this building. It's a very complicated building. I simplified it and made a reasonably good mathematical model which matched very well the mathematical model made by the design team of pre-deck error in Dubai office, and they used robot software, and I use SAP 2000 software. For that I have license. So all our results tallied, and then Bimal checked the rest of the structure using the results of the analysis, and I knew that it's a perfect design. So I signed it. I think Either December 2012 or January 2013, I signed it. So that was the time we were working on it at high intensity. And I actually made two models. The moment, it's a very complicated model, so the moment I saw the small report, based on the report I made one. And then when I was given the general arrangement drawings, I made a more accurate model. So, and the total duration that I took to complete the model was only 5 days. But to make the model on robot in Dubai, pre once mentioned they took about 2 months. I really don't know. So, but certainly they took more than the time I took. So, but it's understandable. They did it for the first time, and when I did, I had all the details. But I can tell you, even a 150-story building is nothing for me. And at the moment, we are developing a 150-meter tall bundle tubed solution for one building that we are proposing in Sri Lanka, and it is done by my student in Brisbane, Australia, Dr. Dhammika Maharachi. Dhammika worked with me in 1997. We published research jointly, and then he worked in CCB. Then I helped him with recommendations. He read for PhD with Professor Mahen Mahendran at QUT, finished it in 2003, and then he worked as a research associate for 2 more years. Then he worked with the firm of engineer. Then he joined Robert Bird and worked under engineer Nimal Perera. Engineer Nimal Perera is one of the greatest engineers for tall buildings, and he has done so many buildings in earthquake-prone Indonesia. He's the top engineer, and I have not seen such a character. He's wonderful. And Namik was trained by him, and about 2-3 years ago, well, maybe 3 years ago, Dhammika designed the tallest building in Malaysia, 120 floors. Now it's all completed. So basically, you can see Sri Lankans are brilliant, and we have to see why Sri Lankans are brilliant. And so that's what I'm going to tell you now. There was a massive explosion in the earth about 120,000 years ago, and that prevented sun rays falling on the earth for a few months. That created an ice age in Sri Lanka, in the world. And only the tropical belt and the deserts were habitable. So basically the cities like Damascus of Syria and Baghdad of Iraq, that type of cities were habitable, and much more habitable because the temperature of the world average temperature was about 6 to 8 degrees less than today, or some say it could have been even 10 degrees below what it is today. I'm talking about average temperature. I'm not talking about the temperature in the desert or whatever, but they were all habitable, whereas we did not have countries called United States, Canada, or Australia, or what do you call England, or Sweden, or Norway. They were all one ice cap of 3 kilometers or more. And even if you go to Sweden today, you'll see that the land is still rising and adjusting, because now the urban is gone, but still the land has to adjust. So this was there all this time, and there was no country called Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka, India all together, Australia, Tasmania all together, and the islands of Indonesia all together, all one landmass, because the sea level was 125 meters below what it is today. So those days, the people, whomever lived in Sri Lanka, lived in the dry zone because they could the wet zone was full of animals like elephants and some say even lions and rhinoceros lived in Sri Lanka. And it could be because it's all one landmass. And if you can find lions in India, they can be lions in Sri Lanka. So if they can find rhinoceros in India, there can be a chance that rhinoceros were in Sri Lanka as well. And basically everywhere it was one jungle. And then some people, then there could have been some people living and they lived only in one area, and that is along the Mahaveli River basin. Because when the central hills, everything is full of trees, the runoff coefficient can be 0.05 to zero point 0.1. So Mahavali River did not have floods. It did not have drought periods like as well. I mean, almost all the time, the river flowed with more or less the same level. And this facilitated people to travel up to Mahayangana by small ships along Mahavali River. And if you want, if you are not sure, just have a look at the map and just go to places like Mahayangana, then you see what I'm telling is exactly true. And on the other hand, there's a Swarnavahini program, Ganga Digi or something, and Mr. Jackson Anthony takes you along Mahavali River in that program, and you'll see that ships could have gone, traveled, small ships, I'm not talking about huge ones, I'm talking about small ships with sails, and they used to come to Mahayangana, where Mahayangana was one of the key centers or trading centers. And that's the trading center that Lord Buddha also came 9 months after Enlightenment to teach Buddhism to the people of Mahayangana. And we had three types of people and it's called Yaksha, Naga, Deva. Yaksha means, so first I'll say Deva means the farmers, Naga means the sailors, and Yaksha means the industrial people or who did manufacturing or manufacturing of steel, because best steel in the world were those days manufactured in India and Sri Lanka. And Sri Lankan steel is even better than Indian steel. And Sri Lankan steel is used for making knives and swords, whereas Indian steel is used for making crowbars, pickaxe, and whatever the big items were made with Indian steel, whereas Sri Lankan steel was used for making very sharp tools. And then, due to sun activity, 12,000 years ago, this ice cap started to melt gradually. And then around 10,000, around that time, now around 9,000 years maybe, they found now this land connection is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And when it became so thin, they were tied and all that, people constructed a bridge across Pork Strait. And even that bridge, which can be even seen today, only the ruins. And then even that bridge could not cope with the tides, and finally they gave up. They thought, okay, we are going to be one India and one Sri Lanka. So two countries were created, and the original people came from India, but original people could have come from other countries like Persia as well, because we had trade links with Persia. So Sri Lanka's would be a mix of those dark people of South India and whitish people of Persia. So that's why our skin is not as dark as the skin color of South Indians, and also features are also different. Then, around 8,000 years ago, this melting of ice stopped due to after reaching some equilibrium, and the world map we see today appeared. And you can get all this information from internet, and this is the first one. So second part of history will be in the next video, next audio. Thank you.